Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Pedalshift Project. The Pedalshift Project is a series of conversation, thoughts, and experiments around the bike touring lifestyle. From tips and tricks to ideas on how to ride your ride. Let's shrink the world by bike. Show notes and more are available at pedalshift.net/123. Email the show pedalshift@pedalshift.net or call the voicemail hotline 202-930-1109. You can check Pedalshift out on all the socials as well. Big hello to everybody, and welcome to Chapter 4 of Pedalshift Tour Journals Volume 10, the Katy Trail. It's a lot of fun to be rolling these out as time goes along. If you have missed any of the prior 3 chapters, they are at Pedalshift Projects numbers 118, 119, 121, pedalshift.net/enter in those numbers, and you can find those all out or check it out on your podcatcher or your podcast app of choice. If you're liking the audio, which I hope you are, I'm hoping to have some video coming relatively soon, including a lot of stuff that didn't make it into the podcast side of things. So look for that on the Pedalshift YouTube channel. And of course, I'll be mentioning it here on the pod as well. On this edition, Chapter 4 is, of course, day 4 of my ride. And on day 4, I got a nice surprise in camp, which you'll be hearing right away, right at the top. And that got me reflecting on gratitude in bike touring, and I talk about that. Also, I had a kind of a wet, but not overly disruptively wet day, and I look for some oompah at Maifest in Hermann, Missouri.
Mike and his son came by the camp this morning, which was really kind of fun and unexpected and cool. He brought, coincidentally, ironically, I don't know which word you want to say, but after putting up the sweater as a story for this past Thursday, just a couple days ago, best of, I got even more, I have things to be grateful for. And Mike had an extra bike tool kit lying around, said he didn't need it, it wasn't something he needed, and knew that I did, and so he made a special trip back to the campground, not knowing if I'd still be there or not. He brought that, and he brought a pen, which I thought was kind of great. The funny thing about the pen is, and for those of you who listen to the past episodes of the pod, of course you know, you gotta have a pen, because these campsites that are cash only, they never have freaking pens or pencils there. Like, they always end up walking if they supply them at all. So you gotta have something on you in order to make it all work. And so last night, as I was walking up to the thing going, there's not gonna be a pen. My pen was in my tool bag. I'm kind of hosed. And lo and behold, I was hosed. And so I look around. There's nobody that I can borrow a pen from. And I look down, and somebody had a fire, not in a proper spot, but there were old charcoal coals in there from burnt wood. So I picked it up, and I used that and smudged my name onto the card. And it actually worked, which is kind of nuts. Mike brought a pen, which was very, very, very helpful. I think I'll probably end up needing it at least once on the rest of the trip. The other thing to be grateful about is that Champion Bicycles, they have come through for me. I feel partially at fault for riding away without my tool bag. I think they feel partially at fault for it as well, because it was on their bench. Doesn't matter. I'm riding without my bag. But they are being awesome, and they managed to get the bag to a shop in Defiance, which is further up trail from me here, and it's waiting for me. So I'll be able to go and pick it up and have it for the rest of my days. I have some sentimental value for the tools in there. I've had them, one of them at least, one of the toolkits I've had since I started riding. And of course, there's also a whole load of stickers and stuff in there that I was planning to give out, and cards and stuff that I haven't been able to give to anybody for this ride, but so be it. That is what the trail gave me. But like I said, lots of things to be grateful for. Just leaving North Jefferson behind, back on the Katy Trail, and really looking forward to a beautiful day today. As I mentioned, I am not going to do the 66 to Marthasville today. I've confirmed a couple of things. Number one, I just don't feel like only doing 10 miles tomorrow. I wanted to have a shorter day recover, quote unquote, from the 60 and then 66 miles and be able to have some time to enjoy things. And I think I was realizing that by making today a long day, I would probably be looking across the river at Hermann, because there's a lot of German influence there, and feel compelled not to go because I think there's a little bit of a hill in between, yada yada, stuff like that, and then I'd leave it behind and then sort of regret it. So given that that's about 45, 47 miles away, give or take, I think what I'm going to do is, after confirming that one can camp in the city park, at least according to the Katy Trail message board on the Katy Trail website, I think I'm going to go there. I think I'm going to enjoy a relatively late day of riding. Looks like that the sun is fully peaked out, which is great, fine, awesome. But it's still cool. And I think that in 4.5 hours of saddle time, I can be there still early in the afternoon. And apparently it's just a cool town. And everybody that I've run into and everything I've read suggests that it's a great place to go. Now, it's a Saturday, so it'll be a little touristy, but so be it. That's me too. That's today. I'm going to get my German on in this town that has massive German influence from what I understand. I wonder if they'll have beer. They have beer. I've confirmed that too.
Good morning from beautiful Hermann, Missouri. The ride between North Jefferson and here. It was, in many ways, it was sort of nondescript. The ride was beautiful, saw yet more reptiles and got lots of good pictures. Went by a spooky haunted house of note. It looked haunted. I just thought it was. And a really cool rock that showed measurements of where different floods were from over the years. In the mid-90s, my first trip to Missouri, I was here for one of the bigger floods where it was, 30 feet out of the banks or some outrageously high amount of floods. The biggest thing of note yesterday was the rain, and that was unexpected because, again, these were storms that weren't predicted by any of my weather apps, and yet they happened. You might be able to hear the cars in the background going through some kind of gnarly puddles. But the good news was that it didn't affect my riding much. The trail was pretty dry for the most part. And when the rain started, it looked like it was going to be a really severe thunderstorm. I actually took an hour break in Portland, Missouri, Portland, because of course, right? And was going to wait it out. And it never really happened. It was a bit of a dud. And I finally got frustrated enough that I left. It's interesting, the guys from Michigan who am faster than and got an earlier start and I'm usually a little bit further down the trail than them, they actually caught up to me at that point, and they only had 5 miles to go. And it was interesting because I gave up on the wait for and they stayed, and I'm unsure if that was a good idea for them or not. It'll be interesting to find out. But they only had 5 miles to go, and I had 15. And I'm glad I did it because the weather ended up, although it got rained on a little bit, there was a good combination of my travel kept me ahead of the rain and or at least the bulk of it, and I think it slipped below the south of where I was going here in Hermann. Hermann is a very German-influenced town, and it happens to be Maifest, or Maifest as it would be pronounced in German. It's spelled that way. And I was sort of expecting a kind of Papa and all that other kind of stuff because I'd heard so much about the German influences of the town. Well, there are German influences here. There's lots of the names of the streets and the type of beer that the beer company makes here. But it was very much a Missouri kind of an event. It was a kind of classic rock band, or at least they were playing a lot of 80s and 70s rock songs. And there wasn't sort of like people walking around in like lederhosen or anything like that. So it was more of a good kind of local festival, and I enjoyed it. It was a fun experience for me, but I didn't stick around too long because frankly I was pretty tired, and I was also on the hungry side. So I had a bite to eat up there. It was here in the same city park that I'm staying, and then I also got some extra food around the corner at a fast food place. just a little second dinner supplement. I was surprised how hungry I was. The campsite itself it's interesting. It's very expensive as far as like kind of town parks go. Usually you're in the $5 or $10 range. This one's $15. It's also basically an RV park, which is kind of fascinating. I don't think I've ever seen a town catered to RVs quite like this. But although it was quite full, it was totally fine. As you can probably, no doubtless, hear, there's road noise, but it's interesting. It literally just picked up. It's not quite 7 a.m. here on Sunday morning. But it was actually really good. The lights weren't too bright. I had my own little picnic table with power and everything like that, which was really nice. To be able to just top off the batteries a little bit. I didn't need to do them all the way. I haven't had to stress too much about that. I've had just enough access to plugging in. I've had more access than I've needed. I have largely gone off of my batteries to keep my phone charged, and haven't had to charge my computer at all. So that's been good. The one thing I'd say about this place, for a $15 a night campground, man, the bathhouse is just, as the kids would say, dank. It really wasn't very good. It kind of was stinky, and the showers were, let's put it this way, I needed a shower really badly, so I went for it, but it was not a super great experience. But I would definitely recommend this town if you're on the Katy. It's got stuff. The campground itself is nice, so if you're not super picky about the bathhouse, it's pretty good. So I don't know. I had a really fun time yesterday, even though I didn't do the distance that I had originally thought I would do. But that's fine, and I'm glad I called the audible. I think I said on Insta it was my best audible ever, because I think as the ride was going, 48 miles felt more what my body was going to give me. And it also meant that today when I ride, it's not just a 10-mile ride, which I thought was good planning on my part, but I think 10 miles is just, it's too much to be a 0 day and not enough to be a ride day. So instead today I have like 35 miles or something like that. So I think shifting some of the miles from yesterday's ride to today is probably a better bet. So that's good. Now it's just a question of dealing with the weather. There's big rain coming today, and it's going to be during the daytime. So I think that originally I was going to kind of like just deal with it and, get up late, sleep in, blah, blah, blah. But I'm up, and I'm thinking there's a possibility I could beat it. And I think I mentioned at the top, I'd rather set up in a dry tent, drier conditions than wetter conditions, because then the inside of the tent stays perfectly dry. And I'll just rock a wet fly, which I've been doing for days anyways, just wrap it up and put it on the outside of all the bags and everything. So maybe I'll just grab some coffee, grab some breakfast, and get rolling, because if I can get to Augusta and set up a tent before the new rains come, I'm in a lot better shape that way. And what's crazy is tomorrow's my last night camping. That hardly seems possible. I think one other thing that I've noticed just in terms of timing is that I will be able to pick up my tool bag. It is sitting at a bike shop in Defiance, or the bike shop in Defiance, and it opens up at 9 a.m. on a Monday, and timing for that is just great because that gives me enough time to get to Kirkwood and the train station. So it's interesting going from kind of wet and rainy adventure on trail to my suburban assault in the St. Louis area to get to Kirkwood the coming day after tomorrow. I'm sorry, tomorrow. Yikes, that's crazy. But the week has gone quick, and feels like I've sort of just motored right across the state of Missouri, and feels good. Katy Trail's been fun. I really enjoyed it, even with all the challenges. It's hard not to wake up with a smile on my face, even though I'm looking up at a tent that is just soaked on the outside. It's all right. I roll it up, I lash it to the bike, and I go. That's how we do.
Checking in on the stats of day 4, we've got 45 total miles biked, we have 0 mechanicals, we have 0 flats, and we had rain, but just you wait. Coming up on the next chapter of Pedalshift Tour Journals Volume 10, Katy Trail.
Okay, yeah, that sucks. Technically trespassing, but hey, what you gonna do? Best day ever.
And we like to end off the show, as always, with a big thank you to the supporters of the show who are members of the Pedalshift Society. If you like what you hear, you can help maintain Pedalshift as an independent, listener-supported voice while expanding the offerings. We're talking $1, $2, $5 a month. Helps with the cost of hosting podcasts and the website. You can do it for a bit and cancel anytime. One-shot support is welcome as well. If you're not into the small monthly thing, check it all out at pedalshift.net/society. On to the society. Ethan Georgie, Kimberly Wilson, Caleb Jenkinson, Cameron Lane, Andrew McGregor, Michael Hart, Josiah Matthews, Keith Nagel, Brock Dittis, Thomas Skadow, Seth Krieger, Marco Lowe, Terrence Manson, Noah Schroer, Harry Telgadas, John Sikorsky, Richard Killian, Chris Barron, Brian Wren, Mark Van Ram, Brad Hipwell, Paul Mulvey, Stuart Bucket, Todd Stutz, Mr. T, Roxy Arning, Nathan Poulton, Harry Hugel, Stephen Dickerson, Vince LaGreco, Ruth Divorcey, Michelle Miller, Matthew Lewis, Michael Baker, Billy Crafton, Paul Culbertson, Scott Culbertson, Matt Perry, Danielle Jepson, Cody Florchinger, Tom Beninati, Bobby Ruppel, Roy Everett, Greg Braithwaite, John Mayer, William Cairns, Sandy Pizzio, Richard Patch, Mark Messer, Jeff Muster, Seth Pollock, and Dave Roll. And thanks also to all past contributors and anonymous contributors for helping make this show happen. Thank you for joining. You can find Pedalshift at pedalshift.net for more great bicycle touring content. You can hear the Pedalshift project through Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. Opening music courtesy of Jason Kent off his self-titled album. The track is called America. Check out his band Sunfield's latest release, Mono Mono, wherever cool music is available.